Hello! Welcome to a very special entry of the RJ Sullivan blog, brought to you by request from Jessica Lay of Jess Resides Here. She asked me to broadcast from the back of what Steven Zimmer last year dubbed the Shaggin Wagon. Here it is. You are looking at it. This is where all the action happens. This is where the kids play on the Nintendo. This is where we store our groceries. All kinds of stuff goes on back here and you just don't want to know. Okay, so here we are. Today I want to thank Jessica of Jessica Resides Here. I want to thank Steven for setting up this blog. Jessica sent me...
I have a question.
Excuse me?
I said, I have a question.
Mermaid mug, I told you never to talk to me when people are watching.
Is that any way to treat your muse? Why is it always about you? What about me?
What about you? You're a mug.
Yes, but I was a mug with dreams. I wanted grand tea parties. There should have been a little princess to watch grow up as she sipped hot chocolate out of me for years and years.
Well, but I've been drinking out of you.
Sure, 10 cups a day. And yes, I've seen some growing, but it hasn't been taller.
Oh, wow. Fine, look, we'll talk after the
video.
Can
I sing for the camera?
Oh, no, let's not.
Fine, just shatter all my dreams.
Look, we'll settle this later. Okay. Now, as I was saying, Jessica Lay sent me some questions, and we're going to go through them. Her first question is, what kind of changes have you had since joining SSP? 7-Star Press, of course. Wow, lots of changes. This blog tour has certainly been very busy, and I think the biggest change has been setting up the social media and seeing names of people coming through on the author blog, the author page on Facebook and on Twitter. I never had Twitter before, but the point is, I was mainly networking with authors and other readers who I at least had met somewhere, and now I'm seeing total strangers, dozens of complete and total strangers to me every day, showing up, wanting to follow me, so I know that a readership is growing, and 7-Star knows how to make that happen. So that's a huge change, and that's an exciting change. Her next question, female characters are a large, if not the focus in your books, a large part. And the question is why? And that's true. A lot of my favorite authors, at least in the last few years, have been Tanya Huff, Elizabeth Moon. I'm drawing a blank on some others at the moment, but a lot of them are not only female authors, but they feature strong women characters, something I've always enjoyed reading. And when I sat out with my own goals, I kind of wanted to do the same thing. So, hasn't been plotted or planned so much. It's just kind of the way it's worked out. Now, having said that, after Virtual Blue, it's going to be a very male-focused novel. I've got a male protagonist, and it's going to deal with a lot of men-centric issues, which I don't really want to say too much more about, but I think a lot of guys will get it when they see it. Do you have plans to try something different and write other genres? Yes. And I've written, I would say, my last ghost for a while. The next book, Virtual Blue, will deal with demons and some technical thriller type stuff. The book after that is going to be distinctively science fiction, and the book after that is going to be alien abduction sort of adventure, which I don't want to say too much about, but I grew up reading sci-fi, and I'd like to kind of bring this series into that sort of a slant. That's not to say that the paranormal is going to disappear. It's definitely going to remain a part of it, but I'm going to bring in other layers that I think people will find very interesting. And I see I skipped a question. So, referring to female characters again, do you consciously write them differently, or is there less of a difference than one would think? Well, that's a really hard question. I think writers are observers. I do believe that men and women are different in a number of ways. I'm not sure I can pin down exactly how that might be right here and now for the camera, but I do write women differently than men. I think women have different priorities than men, and could write a psychology book on that if you wanted to get into it, but that's the short answer. 1 second. Oh, that is so good. Anyway, I am reading Haunting Blue now. Blue is quite the spunky girl. Yes, she is. Is she based on someone you know? And the answer is no. Blue came about because I wanted to do a tribute to the Hardy Boys. And when I say Hardy Boys, that probably means something different to the people that think of the paperbacks that are out there now. But when I was a kid, there were the blue hardbacks were the only things that were out there. They were terribly quaint, written in the 30s, maybe some in the 20s, I'm not entirely sure, but very simple adventures. They never, even at age 10 or 12 when I was reading them, they never really quite got crazy enough, I suppose. But I still enjoyed them, and I wanted to do an homage to them. So the original idea was two boys who go off on an adventure that turns badly on them, and I couldn't quite make that work. And I found by making one of them a girl and throwing sexual tension into it, then it was working. So I said, fine, who is this girl and who is this guy and why is there all this tension? And so I made them opposites, which, you know, in hindsight seems pretty obvious, but that was the approach to how Blue came about. And then she kind of took over the book and it became her story, and I ran with that as well. But I think if you go back and you look at the piece as a whole and knowing that that's where it came from, I think that becomes pretty clear. So I hope that answers your question. Do you plan to write more short stories for either of your current series or any others that may be bouncing around in your head? I've got a few short stories coming out very shortly. I wrote a few for Strange, Weird, and Wonderful. They're putting out best of volumes now, and in fact in December volume 2 comes out, which has a Becky Burton story, which is the story of Rebecca Burton, my Special Investigations Unit character, but as a teenager, and it tells you a great deal about her parents, and maybe it clues you into some things going on in the series. I also have a vampire story coming out in an anthology called Drawn to the Blood. It's called Robot Vampire, because I figure I want to get people to read it, and if Robot Vampire doesn't get you to read it, then I quit. So, but sooner than that, Dark Faith Volume 2, called Invocations, is coming out next month. And I have a short story there that's a little off the beaten path. But to answer your question about in the future for me, right now I've got novels to write, and I got a tight deadline, and 7 Star needs those novels, and I'm building up a readership that wants to see them. So I don't have any plans to write any new short stories anytime soon for that reason. Where do you get attacked usually with the most ideas? That's a good way to put it, actually. Do they come at inconvenient times, or does the muse wait till you are sitting at your desk? An idea can come to me at any time, at any moment, whether I'm out and about or not. And my approach to the ideas is I let it sit in my head and kind of, I guess, percolate, to use a coffee term. And if I keep thinking about it and it wants to get written, then I figure hold on a second. It's a little warm back here. That's why I didn't dress and drag as you requested. It really would not have been good. So we went with the mug idea instead. I hope you liked it. If the idea is there for a while and it won't go away, I figure it's maybe at least opening up a file and playing with. If if it goes away, I figured it wasn't that big of a deal. And I usually, if it's forgotten and it's gone. So there's lots of ideas that come to me all the time, but I don't tend to chase them right away. I tend to wait and see if they stick. So that's kind of the approach I take. And Jessica's last question is, knowing what you know now, is there anything you'd have done differently when getting into the publishing world? I'm going to say no to that, because if you've seen the interview with Deborah Holland, she made a very good observation that everything that happens to a writer, wherever it takes them, they continue to write, and they constantly become a better writer. Now, would it have been nice to have started to grow a readership at 10 years ago? Sure. But then again, I wouldn't have been as good of a writer as I am now. I truly believe that, and I think that's a fantastic point. I think that all experiences are good experiences, and the more writing you do, the better you're going to be. So whether you hit early or late, it goes well. So I have no regrets with the path I've taken, and I'm certainly very, very happy. I can't emphasize that enough with the situation I'm in now. So it's been a huge jump even from about a year ago, and I'm glad to be here, and I think the best is yet to come. So thank you so much, Jessie, for your questions. I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you tomorrow with another entry. Thanks so much, people.